Graduation day. Everyone else was posing for photos, hugging their families, talking about job offers. I was still holding my cap when my mom pulled me aside and said, "We're proud of you. And now it's time you learn to stand on your own 2 feet." I thought it was some metaphor about adulthood. It wasn't. My dad chimed in with a firm pat on the back. "No more handouts, champ. Sink or swim." I didn't even have a chance to ask what they meant. They just walked off to take more photos with Sophie, who was 2 years younger and still being praised for making it through her first semester, without burning down the campus. I stood there in my borrowed gown, holding a degree I'd worked 4 years for, realizing that the bank of Mom and Dad had just closed, at least for me. Sophie, meanwhile, was still on their credit cards. They paid her tuition, her rent, her gas, her designer dog's vet bills. She got a new iPhone every year, a MacBook, for studying, and a vacation to Santorini to help her recover emotionally from a breakup with a guy she dated for 3 weeks. I got a job bagging groceries and another hauling boxes at a warehouse night shift. My fridge broke that winter. I couldn't afford to fix it, so I used the fire escape like a freezer. Eventually, the mice figured it out. One of them got bold and started stealing from my loaf of bread. I named him Ratatouille. If nothing else, he was consistent. Ratatouille showed up more than my family did. They forgot my birthday that year. I only remembered because Facebook sent me a notification. At Christmas, I got a group text from my mom asking if I could cover part of Sophie's flight since she wasn't working right now. She added, "You've got your own income, right? Just a little help." Right. By then, I was living in a shared basement with exposed pipes, paying rent to a guy named Kyle who thought deodorant was a government conspiracy. I was tired all the time, my hands were cracked from the warehouse, and my idea of a splurge was 2-ply toilet paper. But I still sent Sophie the money. $137.44. She never said thank you. The next summer, I finally got a promotion. I started working admin at the shipping office, got better hours, and eventually moved into my own place, a 1-bedroom with chipped cabinets and a view of the dumpster, but it was mine. No one visited. No one asked how I was doing. But I kept going. Quietly. Until one afternoon, out of nowhere, I got a group text from my mom. "Hey sweetie. Hope things are going great. We need to talk soon, it's about your sister. Urgent family matter. Love you." I didn't respond. An hour later, the doorbell rang. It wasn't a knock. It was a hard, rattling slam of a ring, like the person behind it expected to be let in immediately. I opened the door. It was my parents. And Sophie. Sophie was wearing designer sunglasses, holding a $7 smoothie, and had a tear-streaked fake tan running down her cheek. My dad had that serious voice expression like he was delivering war news. My mom gave me that breathy, over-rehearsed, "We're all in this together" face. "We need your help," she said, stepping into my apartment like it was already hers. And that's when I knew I wasn't the black sheep. I was the fallback plan. "We need your help." 4 words. That's what my mom led with. No. "How have you been?" Or, "Wow, this place looks great." Just a demand dressed up like a favor. My dad walked in like he owned the square footage. Didn't even wipe his shoes. Sophie followed, sniffling and sipping her smoothie, sunglasses still on indoors. They sat on my second-hand couch. The same one I'd hauled 3 blocks in the rain from a college kid's curb alert. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed, waiting. Sophie broke first. She pulled off her sunglasses like it was a movie scene. "I'm in a little bit of a situation." That was her word, situation. Like she'd parked illegally, not torched her life savings on overpriced skincare and weekend raves in Tulum. "She needs support," Mom said, placing a hand on Sophie's shoulder like she was a wounded orphan and not a 24-year-old with a Gucci belt. "What kind of situation?" I asked, already knowing I'd regret it. Sophie inhaled dramatically. "I took out a loan for a business. A clothing brand. It was actually going well, but then my vendor ghosted me, and there were chargebacks, and my co-founder, my ex, stole our designs and posted them on TikTok, and now I'm being sued for breach of contract and fraud and some other stuff I don't totally understand." I blinked. That sounds like a lot. It's all a misunderstanding, she snapped, as if I'd personally called the fraud department. The point is, I need $40,000. Silence. You ever hear silence so loud it buzzes in your teeth? Mom stepped in. We know it's a lot. But we also know you've been working steadily. You bought this place. That shows responsibility. Stability. Dad nodded like we were closing a real estate deal. We wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. That made me laugh. Actually laugh. Out loud. Interesting, I said. Because I could have sworn the last time we talked, you said it was time I stood on my own 2 feet. Mom frowned. Don't be petty. There it was. Classic. I turned to Sophie. What about your car? The SUV? Lease, she said like it was my fault. Your jewelry? The bags? I can't sell those. That's not even the point. Oh, I think it is, I said. Dad stood up. We're not here to debate her choices. We're here because family helps family. I gestured around my 600-square-foot apartment. Family forgot about me when I was working graveyard shifts and sharing space with a mouse. Mom blinked. Mouse? Ratatouille, I said. He's dead now. Heart attack. Stress, probably. Sophie scoffed. You're seriously bringing up a dead rodent right now. I'm bringing up the fact that I survived without you. And now you want me to drain what I've scraped together so she can avoid consequences for spending like a celebrity with amnesia. You always do this, Sophie said. You make everything about you. You act like a martyr. I act like someone who remembers every time you got bailed out while I was told to tough it out. Dad's voice sharpened. So that's a no? That's a hell no. The silence this time didn't buzz, it cracked. Mom looked hurt. Like I'd slapped her. Sophie stood. Wow. Okay. Just so you know, this is gonna change things. I nodded. Good. They left. No hug. No, we'll be in touch. Just angry heels and the smell of expensive perfume lingering like bad memories. When the door clicked shut, I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Then I grabbed my half-burnt toast and sat on the floor, Ratatouille style. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty for choosing myself. I thought saying no would be the end of it. I was wrong. The next morning, I woke up to 17 unread texts. 2 voicemails. And a Facebook message from my mom, which was new. She hadn't used Facebook for anything other than sharing anti-gluten memes since 2016. The voicemails were peak emotional whiplash. The first was from my dad. This is bigger than just Sophie. You're tearing this family apart. The second was from my mom, half crying. I just don't understand how you could be so cold. After everything we've done for you. Done for me? I replayed that line 3 times, hoping the sarcasm would reveal itself like a magic eye puzzle. It didn't. Sophie's texts were what you'd expect from someone who once described Legally Blonde as a documentary about my energy. Caps lock. Passive aggression. 2 crying emojis. 3 clapping hands. I can't believe you're actually choosing money over me. You're supposed to be my brother. Then, do you want me to go to jail? Is that what this is about? Is this revenge for, like, being prettier than you? And finally, honestly, I hope you feel powerful right now. Congrats on being a heartless robot. I made coffee in silence. Black, strong, slightly bitter, just like me, apparently. The next day, it escalated. Amanda, my cousin, the only family member who had ever sent me a birthday card without being reminded, called me during my lunch break. Hey, she said, a little nervous. So, there's a family dinner Saturday. I already knew where this was going. Mom and Uncle Matt are trying to put together, like, a talk. About everything. Kind of a reconciliation thing. An ambush. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. She paused. Look, I'm not taking sides. But I think they're hoping you'll apologize. I laughed. Loud enough that my coworker glanced over from the copier. For what? For not offering Sophie a loan I can't afford to save her from a lawsuit she earned. I know. I'm just, Look, I'm going because my mom would set my shoes on fire if I didn't. You don't have to go. I won't, I said. And I didn't. Saturday rolled around, and I did what any emotionally bruised adult does. I deep-cleaned my apartment and reorganized my spice rack alphabetically while listening to sad indie songs at full volume. Then came the photo. Amanda sent it without comment. A group shot, my parents, Sophie, Uncle Matt, and Doreen, and some others. Smiling. Holding wine glasses. Like it was a celebration and not an emotional hostage situation. Sophie's caption? Family is everything. Some people forget that. I didn't reply. But I started writing. Not to them. Not even for social media. Just for myself. I opened a blank doc and titled it, Why I Said No. Then I let it all out. The forgotten birthdays. The skipped milestones. The year they used my graduation money to fly to Sophie's cheer nationals and didn't tell me. The time I broke my wrist at work and called them from urgent care and was told, well, maybe get a desk job then. I wrote until my hands hurt. Then I closed the laptop and made dinner. Nothing fancy. Just something warm. Something filling. And that night, as I was finishing my meal, I heard a soft sound. A scratch. Near the baseboard. I smiled. Hey, buddy. I whispered. Long time no see. Ratatouille, or maybe his cousin, blinked at me from the shadows. It felt weirdly comforting. Because at least he wasn't asking for money. I thought skipping the family dinner would send a message. Apparently, the message they got was, try harder. On Tuesday, I got a formal-looking envelope in my mailbox. No stamp. Just hand-delivered, slipped in like a secret. Inside, an invitation. Family Resolution Summit. Printed in cursive, like it was a wedding rehearsal and not an emotional ambush. Underneath, in Comic Sans of all things. This Saturday at 3 p.m. At your Uncle Matt's house. Attendance expected. Expected. Not requested. I was still staring at it when Amanda called. Don't kill me, she said immediately. I didn't make the invites. That was your mom's idea. And yes, she seriously named it a summit. Like NATO. I think she's unwell. I laughed. Are you going? I kind of have to. But if you don't show, I swear I'll cause a diversion. Maybe fake a seizure. Or dramatically fall into the potato salad. I chuckled, then paused. What are they expecting? Like, what happens at a resolution summit? Amanda sighed. Probably you get pressured into giving Sophie the money in front of everyone so they can guilt you with witnesses. Perfect. Saturday came. I didn't. Instead, I cleaned out my email inbox, took a nap, and made lentil soup. Ratatouille, or a distant cousin, made another appearance. I left him a shred of carrot as a peace offering. Then Amanda texted. Amanda. So. You were the main topic. Again. Me. Do tell. Amanda. Sophie cried. Your mom cried. Your dad said you're acting out because of jealousy. Uncle Matt said you've become too individualistic. Whatever that means. Then they all decided you must be in a cult or therapy. I spit lentils across the counter. Me. They think I joined a cult? Amanda. Yes. A radical independence cult. Me. It's called paying rent and having boundaries. Amanda. Well. You're clearly brainwashed. We joked. But under it, I felt something shift. Not anger. Not pain. Clarity. They weren't trying to help Sophie. They were trying to restore the old system, where she made messes, and I swept quietly behind her. I was never the golden child. I was the doormat with a diploma. And now that I'd put on shoes, they didn't know what to do. Monday, my boss called me into his office. Hey, he said, nodding at the chair. Don't worry, you're not in trouble. I sat down, confused. We've been watching your work. You've come a long way. We're creating a new role, Ops Coordinator, and we want to offer it to you. I blinked. Seriously? He smiled. Seriously. It comes with a raise. And your own desk. With drawers. That night, I sat at my tiny table, eating celebratory pizza and sipping cheap wine from a coffee mug. I made a toast to no one in particular. To drawers, I said, and to saying no. Then I made a mistake. I opened Facebook. Sophie had posted a reel. A crying selfie with soft violin music overlaid. Caption: when your own blood turns cold. But you'll still rise. Some people just aren't meant to be family. The comments were a mess. Half the people were offering her hugs and prayers. The other half were asking why she kept buying $800 boots if she was so broke. Then came a comment that stopped me cold. Didn't her brother promise to help? What a snake. I clicked the name. My mother. My mother. The woman who used to braid my hair before school. The woman who once told me I was her favorite little secret weapon. Now calling me a snake in the comments of Sophie's pity post. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared at the screen and said out loud, "Okay." Then I got up, opened my laptop, and started typing. Not an angry reply. Not a clapback. A Google Doc. Title: My Side of the Story. Because if they wanted to drag me publicly, I was ready to burn down the illusion. The Google Doc started simple. A title: My Side of the Story. At first, I didn't think I'd share it. It was just for me. A place to unpack years of being gaslit by polite silence and weaponized family dinners. But once I started writing, the floodgates opened. I documented everything. The graduation day. Cut-off speech. The Venmo requests for family gifts I couldn't afford. The birthday they forgot while flying to Sophie's spa weekend. The $137.44 I sent for her Christmas flight, which she never thanked me for. Ratatouille. He got a whole paragraph. The $40,000 demand. The resolution summit. I was summoned to like I was a war criminal. And finally, the Facebook post with my mom's comment. I included screenshots, old messages, receipts. I didn't embellish. I didn't attack. I just told the truth. When I finished, I sent it to Amanda. Me. Read this when you have time. If it's too much, no pressure. She read it within the hour. Amanda. I cried. And I'm forwarding it to myself 5 times in case your laptop explodes. We joked, but my hands were shaking. Amanda asked if she could share it with her mom. Sure, I said. But tell her to keep it private. She didn't. Because 24 hours later, I got a text from Uncle Matt. Uncle Matt. I always wondered what your side of the story was. Thanks for laying it out. I'm sorry I didn't ask sooner. Then my aunt. Aunt Doreen. This is heartbreaking. Your mom and Sophie have told a very different story. I feel ashamed for believing it. One by one, they reached out. Not everyone. Not the core trio. But enough. And then something happened that surprised even me. Amanda sent me a screenshot. Sophie had deleted the crying reel. And her Facebook status? Changed from feeling betrayed to taking a break from social media broke a heart. That night I got a call. From a number I didn't recognize. I answered. Hi, a voice said. It was Hannah, Sophie's former best friend. We hadn't spoken since high school, but she got my number from Amanda. I read what you wrote, she said. It made me feel like I wasn't crazy. Apparently, Sophie had borrowed money from her too. Thousands. Promised to pay it back. After the brand took off. She never saw a dime. She made me feel guilty, Hannah said. Said I was punishing her for being ambitious. I exhaled. That sounds familiar. By the end of the week, I had 6 messages from people Sophie had financially manipulated. One of them, Claire, was a former roommate. Sophie left her with $800 in unpaid rent and a broken lease. She told the landlord I forged her signature. Claire wrote. I had to get a lawyer. I added their notes to the doc, with their permission. At this point, it wasn't just a letter. It was a ledger. 1 week later, I got an email. From my mom. Subject. This has gone too far. I didn't even open it. I archived it and kept typing. Not to attack. Not for revenge. To build a shield made of facts. So the next time someone tried to paint me as bitter or cruel, or too independent, I could quietly hand them the truth and walk away. That weekend, I posted the doc publicly. No captions. No callouts. Just the link. I didn't tag anyone. Didn't need to. The title alone told the story. It didn't go viral. It wasn't some massive TikTok moment. No dramatic Reddit front page explosion. It just moved. Like water through cracks in a dam. I didn't promote it. Didn't post about it twice. Just dropped the link and let it live. But the thing about truth? It has a gravitational pull. Especially when it's written plainly, without venom. By the end of the week, the doc had over 1,200 views. Not millions. But not nothing either. I got messages. From cousins. From old classmates. From people who didn't even know me that well but had orbit crossings with Sophie and her high-drama universe. One woman DM'd me on Instagram and said, "I was once friends with your sister. She told me I was too poor to understand branding." Another wrote, "She borrowed my ring light and sold it. Claimed I gifted it for exposure." The stories weren't always big. But they were consistent. Entitlement. Manipulation. A total disregard for consequences. The most painful part? How many of them started their messages with, "I thought it was just me." And the longer the doc stayed up, the quieter Sophie got online. She disabled comments. Turned her account to private. Deleted 4 highlight reels, including one titled, "My CEO Era." Amanda said the group chats were imploding. Apparently, my mom was begging relatives to stop spreading lies, while simultaneously not denying anything directly. Classic. And then, one afternoon, I got a letter. A real one. In the mail. Stamped and sealed in the kind of envelope that feels formal just by existing. It was from my parents. Typed, not handwritten. 2 pages. Neatly formatted. Emotionally dead. "We are disappointed that you've chosen to air family issues in public. Your actions have caused unnecessary division and confusion. We are still open to reconciliation, should you be willing to retract your statements." Not an apology. Not even an acknowledgement of the facts. Just shame disguised as dignity. I left it on my kitchen table, next to a loaf of bread I'd been meaning to turn into croutons. Ratatouille sniffed it once, then turned away. He has standards, apparently. Amanda came over that night. Brought wine, popcorn, and zero judgment. She sat on my couch and said, "So, what now?" I shrugged. "I keep living, I guess. You think they'll ever apologize?" I laughed. "I think they'll write me out of the will and leave everything to Sophie's future NFT brand." Amanda grinned. "What would it even be? Designer tears? Trauma tokens?" We cracked up. Harder than we had in weeks. And for a moment I felt okay. Not healed. Not finished. But okay. The next day, I got a call from HR at my job. Not because I was in trouble, again, thank God, but because someone had anonymously emailed them a concern about my character and judgment. They attached the doc. The same doc I wrote. My own words. My own story. But twisted. "This is harassment," the email claimed. "This person is unstable and attacking his family publicly." I sat frozen in the break room, phone to my ear, heartbeat loud. My manager, thankfully, was calm. "We're not taking any action," she said. "We know your work. But maybe tighten your privacy settings." After we hung up, I stared at the wall. Then I texted Amanda. "Me. They're trying to mess with my job now." Amanda. "Time to lawyer up?" Me. "I think so. Because if they wanted to escalate this into something bigger, I was ready. Not for war. But for boundaries enforced by more than just silence." The day after the HR call, I booked a consultation with a lawyer. Not because I wanted to sue anyone. I wasn't trying to get even. I just needed to understand what protections I had. Because if they were willing to go behind my back and try to mess with my livelihood, what else were they capable of? The lawyer, Ms. Taylor, was calm and methodical. She read the doc, nodded, took notes. "Have they contacted your job directly before?" she asked. No, I said. Not until now. And you're sure it came from them? Not legally. But yeah? She tapped her pen against her notepad. We can file a cease and desist. It won't stop them from talking, but it might make them think twice before interfering with your employment again. That night, I drafted an email to HR with Ms. Taylor copied. Short. Respectful. Professional. Just enough to make it clear I wasn't playing anymore. And maybe that ripple worked, because 2 days later, I got a call from an unknown number. I ignored it. Then came the voicemail. It was my father. Listen, I don't know what you think you're accomplishing with all this. You've embarrassed your mother. You've ruined your sister's reputation. And now you're trying to lawyer up? You think you're a victim, but you're just bitter. And if you keep pushing, you'll regret it. Click. No. Love you? No. Please call back. Just a threat, barely disguised as concern. I forwarded it to Ms. Taylor. She replied within the hour. Save that. We might need it. Later that week, Amanda sent me a photo. A picture of an old will. Dated 6 years ago. In it, my grandparents, my mom's parents, had left a trust to be divided equally between both grandchildren upon completion of their college education. Amanda's mom, my aunt, had been going through old estate documents and found it while clearing out a filing cabinet. You knew about this? I asked Amanda over the phone. No. I swear. I thought Sophie got something because she was closer to Grandma. But I didn't know it was supposed to be shared. The trust had been handled by my mom after my grandparents died. She was the executor. I never saw a dime. No letter. No notification. Nothing. Amanda was quiet. Do you want to see the bank paperwork? I do now. She sent it. Turns out, Sophie had cashed out the entire thing, $80,000, over the course of 2 years. Each withdrawal marked educational expenses. During that same time, I was eating instant noodles on a floor mattress and using a mini-fridge that hummed like a dying goat. I sent the evidence to Ms. Taylor. Her reply: We need to talk. It turns out that failing to disclose a legal trust to one of the beneficiaries while serving as executor isn't just shady, it's illegal. Not civilly either. Criminally. My mom had committed fraud. Not metaphorical fraud. Literal fraud. I sat on my couch that night, pizza growing cold, laptop glowing, and just stared at the wall. I wasn't angry. I wasn't shocked. I was numb. All these years I'd blamed myself for being forgettable. But it wasn't forgetfulness. It was theft. It was erasure. Deliberate. Efficient. Paper trail silent. They didn't forget about me. They chose to erase me. And now, for the first time, I had proof. Not just of their cruelty, but of their intent. I closed my laptop and whispered into the room. Okay. And then I called Ms. Taylor. I'm ready, I said. Let's go all the way. Filing the claim wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. Digital. A few clicks, a scanned signature, a neat PDF with Ms. Taylor's cover letter attached. But what it represented? That was thunder. The court case was straightforward. We weren't suing for millions, just for what was legally mine. Half of the trust. $40,000. Plus legal fees. Plus damages if the court saw fit. But what mattered more than the money was the moment it became public. No more backroom guilt trips. No more emotional smoke and mirrors. Just the truth, on paper, in court. When the summons arrived at my parents' house, Amanda said her mom heard my mother sobbing through the phone wall. Sophie posted a vague Instagram story with a black background and the text: Some people will do anything for money. Even turn on their blood. No one responded. Except one guy, who commented, Didn't you steal a ring light once? I'd be lying if I said I didn't screenshot that. In court, my mother didn't speak much. Her lawyer did most of the talking. They claimed it was a misunderstanding. That the trust was verbal. And that my grandparents intended to support Sophie's education first. Ms. Taylor handed over the will. Hard copy. Clear language. 2 named beneficiaries. Equal division. And then we showed the bank records. 8 withdrawals. 0 notifications. Signed by my mother. The judge didn't even need recess. She ruled in our favor, with additional penalties for breach of fiduciary duty. My parents were ordered to pay me my full half, plus interest. They had 30 days. No apology. No handshake. No closing arguments. Just a ruling. A gavel. And a hallway full of silence. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just walked out and let the courthouse door swing shut behind me. That was the last time I saw any of them in person. 2 weeks later, the money arrived by check. Certified. No note. I deposited it. Used part of it to pay off my lawyer, part to finally upgrade my apartment, and part, just for me, to take a weekend trip to a cabin up north. No service. No drama. Just trees. Wind. And a hot mug of coffee on a wooden porch while Ratatouille's spiritual cousin rustled around under the floorboards. Freedom doesn't always feel like fireworks. Sometimes it feels like stillness. Amanda visited a few weeks later. She brought cookies. Sat on my new couch, real leather, not Craigslist foam, and said, "So, what now?" "I don't know," I said. "Live, I guess." She nodded. "You're really done with them?" I paused. Not because I doubted it, but because I finally knew I didn't have to. "I don't hate them," I said. "I just don't owe them anything anymore." She smiled. "Good. Because they don't deserve you." Before she left, she handed me a card. On the front, a cartoon rat wearing sunglasses, holding a wine glass. Inside, in her handwriting, "To the man who stood up, spoke out, and fed the mouse who stayed." I laughed so hard I almost cried. Later that night, I sat on the couch, the card beside me, the windows open. And I wrote one final entry in my journal. They tried to cut me off. Then they tried to use me. Then they tried to erase me. But I'm still here. Not bitter. Not broken. Just free. And for once, that's enough.